everyone, welcome back to She Burst Podcast. I am your host, Brooke Michelle, and today I am going to be speaking with Megan Marie. Today we are going to be talking about how she survived an abusive home from her parents and how she's now coaching and thriving. Hi, Megan.
Hey, Nicole. Thank you for having me here tonight.
Thank you so much for being a guest today.
I'm so happy to be here. I love, it's Domestic Violence Month.
Oh,
So
yeah.
it's a great time to, be sharing stories about that. One thing, realizing it was domestic violence, I want to change people's perspectives on something, because when most people think of domestic violence, they think of man and wife. They think of it, and, they really need to change their perspective, is that domestic means home. It doesn't matter who it is. Domestic means home. So home violence. So everyone kind of being aware of it is that, if you were a kid and stuff happened to you, it was domestic violence. It's not just between a man and woman. It's home violence.
Exactly. 1,000% true. So before we get into everything about your coaching, I want to know a little bit about your background, about your history of how you survived abuse. Can you tell my listeners a little bit about your story?
Yeah. So man, it's just like to be grateful to even be sitting here and to be in a space that, like, when you're on a healing journey, you have to get back and you have to figure out how to become thankful for it. And so, but while you're in it, like, no. So I am the youngest of three. I grew up with two narcissistic parents, two completely different. I had a father who was a rageaholic. He was very violent, had no emotional regulation, no whatever. We were his punching bags. And if he wasn't punching us, he was assaulting us verbally and mentally and emotionally. My mother, on the other hand, she wasn't physically abusive, but she was mentally and emotionally abusive. Not really verbally per se, but the mental and the emotional, yes. I don't have any mother moments. She was never there to defend or, protect her kids. And actually growing up, I always thought my mother was the victim. I always just thought, what is wrong with this woman? Because she was assaulted all the time by my father. Not physically, he never hit her, but mentally, emotionally, and verbally all the time. And it actually wasn't until later in life I realized that she was the perpetrator of it. She would purposely get him to then do that because she was like the actual big main narcissist of them. And then she would turn all that back around on him to get what she wanted, which was money.
Oh, wow.
Yep. So it was an interesting dynamic, but that constant witnessing of that. And, I wasn't the only one. It was all three I'm the youngest. So there was three of us. And so it kind of went in rotations of, because it didn't matter who he was mad at or what. I mean, girl, you could just be sitting there like watching TV, just minding your own business. And he would just come up and hit you. No reason, no nothing. You could be walking and he would just come and kick your feet out from underneath of you and, just thinking it was funny. And I actually have a neck injury from him because of the fact that he came home one day and I was doing the dishes. He had a bad day at work. And so he just came and he decided that he was just going to basically knock me upside of my head and knocked me off my feet, that my head went down and smacked the sink. And he contused the back of my neck where my bones actually never contused properly together because of that injury. Yeah.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
And then you say he was a racist on top of that? Oh my God.
Yeah. And guys, here's the best part about it. She was a nurse and he was a cop. Like the two people, like one of my favorite sayings is like, looks are deceiving because, from the outside world, it looked like I had like the life, like we lived in like the suburbs, we had the 3-story house with the 2-car garage, we had the cars, everything. And, dad was a cop, mom was a nurse, so it looked like from the outside appearance, but Lord Jesus, if those walls in that house could talk, and he was loud too. So it wasn't, there were sometimes like I'd be outside riding my bike and I'd be coming up to the house and girl, you could hear him screaming. You could hear him from the end of the street screaming in that house. Like my neighbors were happy when they finally moved and when they finally left the neighborhood.
Oh,
I mean,
damn.
they'd already gotten to the point where they stopped inviting them to anything because they didn't want him around because, I mean, he was just so nasty to everyone. He had no filter. He had no regulation, mentally and emotionally. And, he's just completely out there. But yeah, no, just I used to say, and then I thought about it and I was like, God, I can't say that anymore. Like, I know what it's like to be a prisoner of war because
Mhm.
there were times where it was like, like if he was working like night shift, he would come home and there was something out of place. Girl, you would get woken up and dragged out of your bed. You'd be dragged down the stairs, getting down, and he would be
Dang.
sitting there hitting you and, pushing you down to like wherever it was. And then, like blasting on the lights and like just yelling and screaming. Now you just got dragged out of your bed. You just got dragged down. That's actually how I learned how many stairs are typically in a staircase. There's 13, and that was from my head bouncing off of them, as going down. And then, to be sat there and to like be put, like you're supposed to explain something and you're like, I don't even know what is even going on right now,
Yeah.
and yeah, and people grow up like that. There are people who this happens to, and it didn't just happen to me. I witnessed it. I witnessed my siblings. I witnessed it being done to them too, and yeah, it's crazy.
Were their parents abusive? Like your parents' were they abusive to them and it trickled down or what?
My dad says that his parents were abusive to him, but his siblings never talk about any type of abuse or anything like that. And then I know for me, for my dad, his parents, like they're the only reason why I have any type of happy childhood memories. Like when I was around them now, and they do say like with some types of narcissists, like they're horrible to their children, but like to grandchildren, they're great, and they do it out of spite to hurt, the children. But no one backs up my dad's story of any type of abuse that anything bad was ever done. And I know that I felt like a princess. Like I felt loved and I felt cared for. And, if any type of mother-daughter relationship, I had that with my grandmother. I never once had that with my mom. And then when it comes to my mother's side of the family, she actually cut off her side of the family. Well, they cut off from her because they saw the abuse. They saw what my dad was doing to my mother. And basically they wouldn't sit around and tolerate it. And then she like pushed them away because they wanted her to divorce them a long time ago. But see, my mom grew up poor, very, very poor. And my father had money. So my mom was not getting rid of the money. She always wanted the money. So she was going to sit by. But now that I got older, because I wanted understanding, I wanted to know, like, how could you, I can't understand, and especially as a mother myself, I don't understand how a mother could sit here and allow this stuff to happen to their children. So it was like, I needed understanding and I needed, and it was kind of, I needed justification. And that's really when, guys, when we're in a victim mindset, that's what we need. We need to justify, we need to find logic, we need to find reason behind it. So, but I got connected with her sisters. I got connected with my aunts that I never grew up knowing or anything like that. And to find out that my grandmother was a narcissist. And so some of those manipulating traits and stuff like that, that is where my mother got the narcissism from. So that is handed down. But even the little bit that like I did have to do with that grandmother, she was still amazing to me. I was still her favorite, but I am learning though that with her, that is where the traits were learned from. That, she's taken right after her mother. But there was never any violence. And, if anything, my grandmother manipulated my grandfather and, put him, but he loved her and he put up with it. But she, wasn't to him abusive. It was to the children that she was more abusive mentally and emotionally. But on the violence, no, like there's no evidence of any type of violence evidence.
Oh my God.
But no
So
one
what do
in
you
either sides of the family have anything to do with them.
Oh wow. I don't blame him at all. One bit. So
Yeah. And
so
actually, I found out, hold on, and actually, I was going to say, so like, you know, hid a lot of stuff, but actually, my grandfather did actually find out about all the abuse. And he tracked, my father was working overseas at one time, and he tracked my dad down and told him what a worthless piece of shit he was, that he was white
oh
trash,
wow.
everything
Oh
like that,
wow.
but because of what he did. So that even further tells me that no, the abuse was not there. Like they were appalled and embarrassed that this was going on to their grandchildren and they didn't know about it.
Oh, okay. That's crazy. I
Yeah.
forgot what I was gonna say. I'm still in shock that they did that. Like,
Yeah.
I'm glad you cut ties with them. When did you find the like? I don't want to say confidence, but when did you find like? I guess the motivation to cut ties from them. Like,
Well, so I'd actually done it before. So like I knew like growing up, so like I had plans completely like girl, I could like I am writing a book. The book will be coming out. And it's called By the Grace of God I Survived. And so can you.
yeah.
But I had always had plans to leave. Like by the time, like with my neck injury, it was like I'm like out of here. Like I knew I could not grow up with these people. Like I could not be around them. And so I actually had plans that I was going to like move overseas because that's how far the hell I wanted to get away from them. So
Leave.
like I worked like all through high school, you know, I worked and worked and worked and I saved my money. Well, my sister wiped out my bank account. They
What?
knew that I was gonna. Yeah, my sister's the spitting image of my parents. She's their pawn person, like go to person. Well, she wiped out my bank account, so that took my escape plan out of the play, and of course, I never got my money back from her. But then I got stuck where it was if I wanted to go. So I had good grades. I was all around, you know, student. I had all these scholarships and stuff like that. But sadly, you need your parents' signature on, you know, forms to go to college and stuff like that. And they wouldn't sign anything. The only place that they would allow me to go is where I am now because my siblings were screw ups and they messed up their chances. So they were like, you're not doing that. So I was like, fine, I don't give a crap. I'm out. I'm gone. I actually ran away after the neck injury. My senior year, I was actually moving to where I lived here. Like my mom was like, I told my mom and everything. And she was like, I'm not telling him. I'm not telling him. And I'm like, she's like, you have to tell him. And I was like, fine. And so like they were getting ready to go on a family vacation. And like the night before I sat down and I was like, yeah, I'm not going. I'm moving tomorrow. And my dad was like, over my dead body, you are. And I said, well, then over my dead body, because I'm leaving tomorrow. I'm not your punching bag anymore. You're never going to hit me again. And this is done. And there's no ands, ifs, or buts. I'm leaving tomorrow. So the plan was, and I left and I was moving. And then my dad got a job overseas. And my mom called and was like, your dad will be gone all year. Are you coming home? And it was my senior year, you know, so it was kind of sad for me to leave, but I couldn't stay in that house anymore. But because he was going to be gone, I said, you know what, I'll come back. So I went back. And then he came home a little bit early. And so it was literally right after, like they left me at my high school graduation, everything like that, because I had friends come to my graduation. How dare I have friends and stuff? Because I had outlets. I was, you know, that popular kid and I had outlets and things. And so then I left. Well, distance, guys, let me tell you something. And here's a couple, both again. One, I ignored the abuse. When I moved away, I got to act like it never happened. You know, I kind of got to like try to recreate myself. So I moved away, but the distance was good. I wasn't there. It wasn't in front. So I was able to, and because I was trying to build a life acting like it didn't happen, that kind of changed my view a little bit on them, you know, because I wasn't in it. So we kind of maintained a relationship. It was kind of like on and off. We didn't do much together. It was only a couple of times a year, but that worked. You know, we were able to like hang out. We were able to do stuff. Yeah, the verbal and the emotional were still there, but the physical violence never happened again after that point. But the sad part about it is then I went and I got married. And then 10 years into my marriage, I realized I recreated my whole entire childhood without the violence. But I was married to a narcissist. And I could see now the whole pain in my kids' eyes with the verbal, the emotional, and the mental abuse, because we don't bring attention. We don't think that that's there. So I recreated everything. And so when I finally started to wake up to that and realizing that, oh my God, like I'm dealing with the same crap, just not being hit, but I deserve more. It kind of brought back everything to my parents. It brought back everything that was going on. And so as that was going on, and, there was financial abuse into it because, the ex-husband, thought my parents' money was his money, type thing. And he put us in lots of financial, making more of a codependency, entanglement, and different stuff like that. And then as I kicked him out and he wiped out my bank accounts and stuff, being like, you know what, and it was, you can have the money back if you take me back. And I was like, you know what, take the money. Take it. I'll figure it out. But at the same time, I now realize that, like, if I take money from my parents, I'm allowing them, I'm accepting them to verbally, mentally, and emotionally abuse me. So guess what? So I cut them off too. I was like, I deserve so much more. I am no one's punching bag. And so it was 5 years ago that I finally ended all. And like, you want to talk about that spiritual awakening of the delusion and of just like what the hell has been going on, because I deserve more and I'm better than this. And I knew it, but that courage and stuff, and then also the fact I never acknowledged it. I didn't want to. I wasn't a victim. I never wanted to resonate with that. I never wanted anyone's self-pity. I never wanted any of that. And it kind of came to a point where it was like, I already had it. Because what I also found out is that so many people knew about the abuse, but they were too scared of them to speak up to. They were too scared. So I already had the pity. Because I was choosing not to accept it and I was not. And so then it was kind of like, all right, and that's where the healing began. Everything got ripped away from me. I lost everything. And, and the fact is I could have gone into a complete massive spiral. I could have gone, completely more like downhill. But it was just, my soul, my spirit, it was, then also not to mention, but I was also dying at that time. I became very, very ill. If you guys want to talk about stress, my body went into complete shutdown and everything. I lost 14% body fat in 6 months. My body wasn't producing any enzymes, anything. And so I have all of this all coming, plus my health issues, plus health issues with my kids. And it was like, God, this is not my story. This is not how I'm going out. I need you to restore me. And God restored me. But in order to restore me, he had to rip every single thing away from me that I thought was important, that I was fighting for. And the reality is, I didn't want it. I didn't want it. Yeah. So, yeah.
You're definitely a survivor, because the stuff you went through, I don't, man. So I wanted to talk a little bit about how you turned your past of abuse with now in your husband too, your ex-husband abusing you as well, into your coaching. That's amazing.
Well, that's what we have to do, and really of switching that mindset, going from that victim mindset to that survivor mindset to kind of a warrior mindset. And we have to get to a point where, and what I realized too, and it's kind of like, I tell people, I feel like I'm at the end of like a 22-year-old cycle. Because see, when I first started college, I was a social work major. Because with my childhood, excuse me, there were numerous times that like we called Child Protective Services. We tried, but because my dad was a cop, he was able to make stuff disappear, or people didn't show up. It was all able to be disappeared. So I wanted to help people. I wanted to be able to make things better for kids, and I got into my internship. And I walked into this one house, and there were 2 kids, and I couldn't do anything for them. The mother knew every small little thing to say. And so therefore we couldn't take the kids out of the house, even though the kids, and they were like 4 and 6, They were begging, they were hanging on my leg, begging me to take them out of that house. And I couldn't do anything. And it broke me. It broke me. And, but I've always had a passion for psychology, but it wasn't the fact was studying psychology. It was to study my family. Like I wanted answers. Like, how could I be this beautiful, bright, loving soul that I know I am, but I'm surrounded by hate. Like it's complete hate. It's a complete disregard for life. There's no love, and I'm hated because I'm love. Like I used to actually get beat for telling my dad that God was love and God made the world go round. And he would tell me how dumb and stupid I was.
Oh,
yeah. And I better learn that it's money. Yeah. So there was lots of just, for anything and anything. And so at the same time now, so I dropped out of that and I switched to a business major, but it's always been, in the back of my heart. That's always there. And I've always studied psychology. And then when I was going through my divorce, I got back in, and this time I went for forensic psychology. And so like, I'm now like really studying the brain, but I realized it wasn't giving me the answers that I wanted. Like I wanted specific answers as to like how these people could be so evil. Like give me the psychology breakup. And then it was just kind of studying the actual psychology. It made me realize like, I don't want to be a therapist in any type of way. Like I don't want to sit there, and there's so many rules and there's so many regulations that our government puts on, and therapy to this day is not really what therapy is supposed to be. Therapy today is now it's diagnose me, give me a drug. Now it's label me, diagnose me, label me, give me a drug, and go on. And that doesn't do anything. And I'd been in therapy too for years, and guess what? I was in that system. I was, give me this and all that, and I wasn't getting any better. It was just like I was getting more depressed and I was having more symptoms of everything come up. And so finally it was kind of like I dropped out of that, but I was like, there's still just this yearning for me to help. And so I started studying psychology on kind of a different level, kind of like on a freelance level. And then I started finding all these other type of like modality type therapies, like solution-based therapies, modalities that were specifically for like PTSD. And so I started studying those and I started getting certified on those. And I'm like, well, me studying all this, guess what? This is really helping me. This is really opening me up. And so that kind of put it to then, I was already on the spiritual path and I started doing the spiritual, and it really kind of made me understand that, in all these years, I had been taking the blame. I had been taking all the blame of all of my childhood, even with my ex-husband, that I was this bad person for some reason. And that was the war that was going on inside of me. It was like, I knew inside I was good, but what the world was beating down on me was, not what I feel inside, so it was like constant just war. And then, studying psychology and doing a lot more with the psychology of realizing that there wasn't anything wrong with me. I just had two mentally and emotionally immature parents who did not know how to communicate with each other, did not know how to communicate with themselves. Same thing with the ex-husband. He was a narcissist. So narcissists are all immature, guys. They can be intelligent completely, and most narcissists are. They are really intelligent people, but mentally to apply it and emotionally, they are completely immature people. And having that switch and having that change made it to be like, I am awesome. Like, no, like they were just taking everything out. And so I got to the point where it was like, thank you. Because really what it was doing is that with their projections onto me, I was suppressing myself, but their abuse made it so that my soul was screaming louder than ever of no, 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 wrong, 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 wrong. You are awesome. You are amazing. And I was afraid to shine my light because of the fact I had been dimming it for so long. It's because, if I did anything well, that, narcissists are competitive, everything's a competition. Like my mother never saw me as a daughter. I was her competition. So I had to suppress myself. So I'd been suppressed for so long, not actually being able to allow my light to shine, that it got to the point of, you know what? You all were suppressing me because my soul triggered you, because my soul was trying to trigger you to wake you up.
Right.
Well, what you've just done is you've now allowed me. And so that's actually why. So I do, it's Zen Warrior Coaching, because all we want is peace, you know? And so it has to get to a point is that you become peaceful within yourself, which through everything that I have studied and everything that I have learned, I am amazing. I am awesome. And now I get to help other people because we have to fight for our peace, because there are people every day who want to destroy us because we have peace and they don't have peace. And that's the type of environment I grew up. So now I get to turn that back around and I get to help people have that strength, because when you grow up in dysfunction, you don't know who you are. There's so much entanglement that happens within the relationships and so much triangulation, that, you know, your identity is mixed in with all of them. And so it's like you're listening to all of their limiting beliefs and stuff like that, because you can't be an individual when you are with a narcissist. You can't be an individual. So me finally figuring out who the hell was I, with going through the chakras and actually working from our root up, I was finally able to make a strong foundation within who I am. And once you do that, you're unstoppable. No one can do anything. And it comes down to, it's that self relationship. And so I've learned now, and I'm now turning it into a coaching where it's like, maybe now the universe, because everything does happen for a rhyme or a reason, that I wasn't supposed to be a social worker. I wasn't supposed to do any of that. This is what I was supposed to do. And to be that voice and to kind of help other people be like, you know, I did kind of go through that. You know, that kind of wasn't right. You know, I'm not strong in myself here. Let me strengthen myself here and reach people out and get people back in touch with who we are, because that's where a lot of violence comes from. You know, a narcissist cannot manipulate you if you know who you are.
Exactly.
But if you don't know who you are, then you're just trying to go with the flow and you're going to listen to anything and everything because you want to fit in. Well, guess what? We're not supposed to fit in a box, people. You're not. The flower, we're all flowers, you know, and, you know, take on to the biblical aspect of the Garden of the Eden. You are a flower. Grow. And so, yeah. So I love that I get to turn it all back around. But that's where you have to get. And that's with anyone who has been through, is that you keep repeating the same issues because you haven't learned the lesson. And it's not the lesson. And what you also have to understand, and why it took me so long to learn my lessons, is I was still trying to learn to understand my parents. I was trying to learn to understand my ex-husband. I wasn't trying to learn me, because that's what it's all about. It's all about learning who you are. And once I turned all that energy on trying to fix everyone else, trying to find all the answers, once I finally turned all that energy back onto myself, that was the game changer. That was the complete game changer I needed in my life, to step into confidence and to have that self-esteem and that motivation, and, you know, finally figure out my mission and finally figure out my purpose. But so, yeah, it's stop focusing on everyone else. You got to focus on yourself.
Yes. Put you first. That's what mom says.
Yeah.
Put you first. Put yourself first.
Yeah. But, you know, but when you grow up you can't put yourself first. You know, because you're always people pleasing everyone else and stuff. But and that's where, you know, if you follow me on any, you know, social media, I'll tell you your environment is key. You cannot heal in the environment meant to destroy you, you know, and you have to look at who really is there supporting you, who is. And, you know, there just comes a point where, you know, when I say I lost everything, I lost all my friends, I lost everything. But the fact is, they weren't really friends. You know, we get hung up on the fact, but they weren't actually really my friends. They were my friends when I was down in the dumps in a low vibration, just like they were. But when I was rising above, then it's, who do you think you are? Well, you know what? I'm Megan Marie. That's who I am, you know? And if you can't rise up, then goodbye, you know? And we have to. And, you know, the word selfish, you know, a lot of people don't like it. And I didn't like the word selfish before either. No, you have to become selfish. You know, the more you become selfish with yourself, that's when you become selfless to others. But, you know, people who are, oh, well, that person is just no, that's because you're jealous, you're envious, you want something that person has, you know. And we have to learn and to start to have the discernment and start to recognize those type of behavioral patterns. But until you know who you are, you can't do that. And you also can't set boundaries. you can't do anything. And so it's like, you have to define what each thing means to you and stop letting the world tell you what this is supposed to mean or that's supposed to mean. Defining it for yourself and figuring out, again, who you are. That's your game changer, guys. Anyone who's listening here wondering how can I do it? It's you. You're the key. All the answers are within you. It's just whether or not you're willing to listen.
Exactly. What methods do you use when you do the coaching? When you put your
I use a lot of different methods because it does kind of depend on what, but my two main focuses, it's the chakras and NLP, and it's neuro-linguistic programming. And I try to really just, to people who don't understand, it's rewiring. And so what we do is like, we focus on the chakras, and I always start with the root. And so we get into a lot of definitions of like, because for people, the root is who are you? But what is it that it's not just who are you, it's what do you stand for? Like, what are your morals? What are your values? What's your integrity? What's your truth? And as you start to work on those, and as you're kind of talking to me when things, I get clues and stuff, and there's certain words that people necessarily will start to repeat. Well, those are repeating patterns. And so when you start telling me and we're talking about those, now what we can do is NLP is rewiring. And that's basically all it is. And so when you start telling me these beliefs or these systems that are going through, well, then it's, well, who told you that? Where did we define that? Is that your meaning? And so we start to make these little plants, these little seeds. And so as we work through each chakra, there's going to be a level of things that come up in each chakra base on limiting beliefs that are there from other people. And then what we do is we spend a week reprogramming them. And that's something else that's beautiful of them. When you use the universe likes simple. Humans like to complicate things. When you truly actually decide that you're ready to heal, guess what, guys? My program is 6 to 8 weeks, and I'm going to transform your life. And you don't even have to go back. See, here's the one thing you got to remember. You don't and I'm going to make a lot of people mad on this, but it's a money game. It's a money thing. And you got to understand that we live in a society that survives off people's pain. We live in a society, and it's just facts, but you actually do not have to go back and do the inner child work. You don't have to go back and do the inner teenage work. Did I do it? Yes, I did. Do I feel it was a waste of time? You should never say that anything is a waste of time. But what I know now, and that's what I do in my coaching, what I know now after being through it, I didn't have to go do that, because what that does is it puts you back in the pain. When you go looking for problems, you're going to find more problems. And that's what kind of therapy does, because you're going back. Oh, let's go back to your childhood. Well, then you're going to start opening up cans of worms. You're going to start remembering things that you need to do. Well, guess what, guys? You can't change the past. There is not a damn thing that you can do about the past. You can't go back and change a person. You can't change how you dealt. You can't change your mindset. There is nothing. So why focus on that? And so my, is solution-based therapy, and we work on the present moment. Who are you right now? What are the beliefs that you have as you in this very moment? And where do you want to be? And do your current beliefs, do they match where you want to be? And that's where we rewire it, and we revisualize it, and we get it. And so I'm literally I'm certified in 30 different modalities and different ways that are related to mental health and spirituality. So I have a vast way to be able to pull things out of people and to do, but my main is the chakras. Once we start learning the energies and we start focusing and breath work, a lot of people don't realize that, if you grew up in violence and really in traumatic, you don't breathe correctly. We actually breathe from our chest. We don't actually take full belly breaths. And when you're breathing correctly, your belly should actually be expanding out. But also, let's look at women in society. Aren't we taught that we're supposed to be prim and proper, and we're supposed to suck in our stomach all the time?
Yep.
Guess what, guys? That keeps your nervous system out of alignment. You know, you should be letting your stomach go, because when you take a proper breath, your stomach should expand. And I always say the Buddha belly. You know, if you've ever seen like the fat Buddha dolls, that's what your belly should look like when you breathe. When you're breathing in, your stomach expands out. And when you're letting out the breath, your stomach goes in. And so there are literally simple things to do that will just, in 6 to 8 weeks, you will see you will not be the same person. And we aren't going to touch anything in your past. Well, we slightly touch what stuff in your past. You have one moment to talk about stuff in your past when you work with me. And that is the first 8 minutes that we work together. And then there's no more in the past, nothing to do. It is all about here right now. And the beautiful thing about that too, is that as you're working right now on the present moments, you're going to heal everything from the past. Because you're going to see stuff. That's why you don't have to go digging. You don't have to go do any of that, because you're going to start recognizing right then and there the patterns of what it is. And again, it's okay, well, where and how do we want to change these? So you don't have to go back, because that's so much focusing on stuff that you have no control over that. The only thing you have control over is you right here, right now. So why go back in the past? Why go do any of that? Because as you move forward, now you're going to, and this goes into PTSD, which I'm certified and trained onto PTSD. You are now going to take away the emotional reaction to the past experiences. You're now going to be able to see those in a different way, in a different light, and you're not going to have the emotional attachment anymore to it. So therefore, when you take away the emotion from it, you heal from it. It's only a trigger because we have an emotional attachment to it. But if you cut off the attachment, there's nothing to be triggered by. Now we can have a rational conversation about it. Now you might even be able to laugh at yourself and be like, oh my God, yep. You know, and that's where you want to get, you know, that's why they say laughter is the best medicine. You want to get to the point of, yep, I didn't know better back then. Yep, nope, I sure didn't. You know, it was what it is. It's yep, bow down, you know. But yeah, and that's where you have to get when you're on this journey. And it's a beautiful transformation. But yeah, so I'm gonna make a lot of people mad. Guys, you guys don't gotta go. You don't have to go back into the past.
That's true. Yeah. I want to show my listeners your website. What's your website?
It is zenwarriorcoaching.com.
Usually it comes up. I'm going to bring it up on the screen.
All right.
Okay, I found it. Okay. And while you're on here, we can just walk through it a little bit so my listeners know. Okay, I'm ready.
Yeah, well, it is. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So it's basically, we are going to teach, you know, it's identifying your limiting mentalities. You know, no one else is holding you back but you. That's it. You know, it is completely 100% you. And with the NLP, you know, the cultivating the positive self-talk and the empowerment, we're going to rewire how your internal dialogue is. Who is those words? So we're going to set up, you know, your foundation of who you are. You know, and if you follow me on any type of social media, like today, you know, my reels, my videos and stuff like that, it's love. What's your definition of love? You know, because if your definition of love is just someone being there next to you, someone being by your side, well, guess what? How many people are there next to you by your side? Has the universe delivered what you say love is? Yes. So basically, you're only meeting that at the surface. That's what but what does love mean to you, you know? And so it's empowering that, and then integrating those powerful mindsets by changing that dialogue. You know, so like one of my practices, and I tell this to everyone, it's nothing but it's something that we work on a deeper level in my coaching business, but it's called the ABCs. Where the fact that, you know, you have to come up with, and we use it for different ways because there's different ways that you speak to the chakras as well, but coming up with 26 positive adjectives to describe yourself. You know, mirror work is amazing. So like, that's another thing of like mindful practices is, you know, looking yourself in the eye and telling yourself positive things. You will have more transformation by doing that than versus just sitting here looking in the blank screen saying like, I am abundant, I am bold, I am creative, I am divine. If you sit in front of a mirror actually doing that, then you're actually will have more transformation than just sitting there saying that. And so that's like one of the things that I do is like, we start off with the ABCs. And then anytime you get to a letter and like the first thing that pops in your mind is a negative word, we stop. And then that's where journaling exercises come in, because who put that word there? You know, so like when I first started and I kind of created this for myself because of the fact that when I looked in the mirror, the only thing I ever saw were the bruises, the only thing. So like it got to a point like I had taken down all the mirrors in my house, everything, because every time I went past a mirror, I had no clue who the hell was looking at me. I felt like me from the inside, but the person who was looking back at me, I had no idea who she was. And I wanted to change that. And so I started this and I made it up myself and I started doing that. But like the first to C, when I was trying to come up with C, my dad used to call me a cunt all the time. So it was, you know, I would come and like the first word that popped into my subconscious that gave me, it was cunt, you know? So I had to journal then about, I am not, you know, this is him. And, you know, and actually it was kind of like, well, thank you for calling me a cunt, because you know what? It's the strongest muscle in the body, you know, you know, so it was like, you know, I had to turn that around to be a positive. But when you do that and then you put your own definition, you put your own meaning to it, that's where you start the transformation. And so that is like one of the things that my clients do have to do is we have to go through the ABCs and you have to come up with 26 words, positive words to describe you. And it's a great thing to start making that neuro change within the brain. You know, the tiny little things like, guys, just also another mindful practice. If you want, you can't like you hear everyone talking about the neurotransmitters in the brain and, oh, you want to create it. If you're right-handed or if like you brush your hair with your right hand every day, start doing it with your left hand. Just start doing it slightly forward. You start to create the new neurotransmitters just so that your brain can start changing just by doing that slight little thing. Makes massive changes within the body. Massive changes, but we take little things for granted. And that's the one thing is like, it's kids keep it simple, silly, because the universe doesn't want complicated. The human wants complicated, but we got to simplify it.
And what did you call it? The ABC method, positive method?
Yeah. It's just the ABCs.
I'm going to do
That's
that.
what I call it. Do it. I tell everyone to do it. I've been spreading that message for over a year now on it. I have so many people who have told me of just how amazing it is, you know, and they didn't think of it because, you know, they were surprised, you know, even if you feel real confident about yourself, they were surprised how many, like they couldn't come up with anything for a letter. There was nothing positive they could think of. And it, you know, and that created journaling exercises. There's so much magic. And, you know, people want to sit there and say, you know, like, they call it spelling for a reason. There's so much magic when you put it down on paper and it's, you know, you're getting it out of you, you know, it's like people, you know, there's so many different ways to be able to say it, but yeah, get that out of you of like, why can't you think of something positive? Why don't you think you should be your biggest cheerleader? And if you can't cheerlead yourself, then how and why are you expecting anyone else to cheerlead for you? So we have to do these type of things. So yeah, do it. And, you know, and it's fun too, because we do need to, as we're healing, you expand your vocabulary. And so there are a few letters that it is going to be hard to come up with some positive, but so it makes it so you have to think hard about yourself and then go find something, you know, like for Z, like, girl, I could not think of any, like Z, like what? Z, you know, like I couldn't even think zealous. You know, I'm zealous for life and there's so much power. So, and like when you're speaking to the root chakra specifically, manifestations, the I am is you're speaking to your root. So that's why there's so much power of sitting there and being like, I am, you know, abundant. I am beautiful. I am creative. I am divine. I am empowered. I am, and, you know, and also like I even say, and like for F, I am frisky. You know, because I'm a sexual person. And so, you know what, there's no reason for me to hide from that because that's part of who we are. So when there's any positive, don't let it just go on to like your appearance and stuff. What is it about your personality or, you know, something like that, you know, and own it and claim it, you know, but the power of looking in the mirror and doing it your soul will start to believe you.
I like this. I like your methods. I do.
Yeah, because they're simple.
Like,
And there's not, because you don't have to go like spend it while you're getting ready in the morning, brushing your teeth. You can be sitting there saying it. You don't have to go spend all these hours going and doing this. You don't have to. This is what, like, I talk about, like, this is embodying it into your life. Like, I'm not making it so you have to go and change and go do anything. It's take 5 minutes before you start your day, and set these intentions and put these things into play. Healing does not have to be this long, complicated, drawn out problem like so many people want you to seem. But again, guys, that is our society. We have a society that wants you to buy into the pain. They want you to buy into all of this. And no, I want you to work with me in 6 to 8 weeks, and I want you not to need me. I want you to be so transformed. Then you take what I have shown you and you go take it and you show it to other people, and you do that. And that's how I make my impact, which is important to me, to be able to raise the vibration of humanity. Like, that's my impact, and that's my giving back, is teaching those people who want to work with me step up.
Yes, that's amazing. It's amazing.
Yeah.
So I want to talk about your coaching program. So do you have like a payment plan, or how does it work?
I do have, so it isn't, my
Okay.
coaching plan compared to, I do have a 1 question, 1 thing, where you can talk for 1 question, 1 hour. It's $100. So, and it's, it's a very simple thing, just if you kind of want a taste for it. Then I do have, and it's called the Narcissistic Recovery Program, but I really kind of feel like I do kind of need to change it. My main focus is because my main experience is in Narcissist. And, I really want to help people because I know how life ruining the abuse can be. And so I really want people to know, hey, I'm here for you. I've been there. I've been in your shoes. And I'm also here to tell you that there is life after. And there is an amazing life if you're willing to. But really, I really kind of feel like I'm a relationship coach. I'm a self-relationship coach. And so anyone who really, any type of abuse, even if like you just feel crappy about yourself, like my program is going to give you that confidence. It's going to help move you up. And so, but my program is, and compared to many of the other programs out there, I'm cheap. I'm cheap because, I get it. But, I also, like, when I say like I'm rebuilding, like I was rebuilding my life, I've been rebuilding my whole entire life, my whole entire finances, everything. I was actually a stay-at-home mom at that time. And when he did that and all, so it's like, I get that people in some of these situations don't have a lot of money, and things like that. And so like, I feel that my price is very, very reasonable compared. It's just whether or not you want to step it up. And I do have only 1 payment program where it is, you can pay half of it at the beginning, and then you can pay the other half going towards the end. Once you like click in, you're kind of given that kind of option for it. But otherwise, no, it's kind of, you got to come up with the money because of the fact it's going to be like this. Like, there's a couple people I have worked with, girl, and my program, it's 6 weeks. There's a couple people I've worked with 8, but some people, they have had such a transformation in 3 weeks that I am like, I mean, we'll still work together, but, wow. Like, and they'll be like, I know, like, can you believe this? And I'm like, because they wanted it so badly, that they were so done. And so it can happen that way. And because again, what I teach you, it is so simple. You're going to literally be like, what? Like, this is really like all I had to do. And like, you can change your whole entire mindset. Are you kidding me? Yes. It's that easy, and like even tapping. And I am going to be getting ready. There'll be like a little webinar, but so there is 2 different types of tapping, but you have TFT and you have EFT. So TFT is more thought focused, but that is where it is actually by, and it just went out of my head. There's an algorithm to it. With the TFT type tapping. So there you have to tap on certain spots at a certain time in a certain rhythm in certain locations. EFT though is, that's more just using the meridian points and where you can just tap on them and speak to them and they go together. A lot of people, also with like your chakras, what people don't realize is that your mind has so much control if you know your chakras are out of line, literally. And so also I do hand mudras as well. And so I teach hand mudras into the classes as well. But so your heart is your index finger and your throat is your middle finger. And that's why you always see people tapping with those two, is because you're combining the power of them. But like if you wanted your chakras to be in line, you literally can just go through and tap on your chakras and be like, my chakras are aligned. I align my crown. I align my third eye. I align my throat. I align my heart. I align my solar plex. I align my sacral. Now for the root, it's actually, you take both because it's in the middle and it's on the sides of your arms. And as I align my root, you know, there's so many simple things that it's like people are just like, wait, what?
Yeah.
But I'm about simplifying it. You know, it doesn't have to be complicated. I grew up and God, I hated this saying, but now it's like, I appreciate it. Kids, keep it simple, stupid. You know, that's really what it is. You know, we don't have to, it's not all complicated on it, but yeah.
Wow. I want to thank you so much, Megan, for coming on my podcast today and chatting with me.
I'm so happy to be here and to share.
I hope you have a great day. See you next time.
All right. Bye.
Bye. Hey, everyone. Oh, forget to say that. Hey, everyone. Thank you so much once again for supporting She Births Podcast. If you would like to go on there and have her as your coach, have Megan as your coach, you can go on here on her website. It's zenwarriorcoaching.com, and you can go on the coaching program tab and scroll down. And as she said, there you can do 2 payments on this one, and then this one is a one-time payment of $100. And yeah, I highly recommend her. She's amazing. She's amazing to chat with and talk with. I want to thank you all so much for supporting me again, and I hope you all have a great day and see you next time for the next interview. Bye.